Yeah, I thought, will you please call the roll for Region 12?
Yes, sir. We'll start with Brian Yonta. Dave Wegman.
I'm here, Kendall.
Thanks, Dave. Derek Bays.
I'm here.
Thank you. Summer Johnson for Doris Cooksey.
Here.
Thanks, Summer. Debbie Reed. Here. Thank you. Nefi Garza.
Present.
Thank you. Kara Tackett. Jeff Carroll. Sabrina Santiago for Robert Reyna.
Here.
Thanks, Sabrina. John Beasley.
Present.
Thanks, John. Suzanne Scott.
I'm here.
Thank you. Jose Reyes.
Here.
Thank you. Dave Mock.
Here.
Thank you. Donovan Burton. Here. Thank you. Marty Kelly. James Blount.
Present.
Thank you. Jamie McCool. Jared Bowen. Brittany Frazier for Chris Robles.
Here.
Thanks, Brittany. And I have James Brunikowski and Anita Macchiavello. And Chair, we do have a quorum.
Outstanding. Do we have any public comments?
No one has signed up to speak.
All right, thank you. Note that Kara Tackett has joined us.
I will put that down. Thank you, Kara.
The hat is, it helps make a quorum. All right, item number 3 is approval of the minutes from the previous Regional Flood Planning Group meeting. Are there any comments on the minutes from last time or changes? All right, could I get a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Debbie Reed, move to so.
And a second?
I second that.
Second from Nefi. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Minutes are approved. Item number 4, communications from TWDB. Anita? Or James? James in person.
Yes, I'm here online. I apologize I couldn't make it in person with James. I recently had surgery, so I'm home recovering. But I have just a few updates for you all. On May 31st, TW sent out a regional flood planning update, which covered several topics that we've been receiving questions on, such as solicitation for second cycle, sponsor selection, Q&A with our state flood plan, and information on new and ongoing flood research projects. So I encourage everyone to please read that May newsletter and let me or Kendall know if you need it to be resent to you. Secondly, I also just want to give a friendly reminder that we sent out the amended plan submittal guidance on May 10th. And if there are any questions, please let me or Kendall know. I will also pass it to my manager, James, that came in person today. Thank you so much for coming in my place, James, and I'll pass it to you.
Thank you for the update, Anita. Just want to be here in person today. I know there's a few milestone items on the agenda today, and just wanted to show Water Development Board support in person, and just be here for any questions y'all might have as well.
All right, thank you, James. Appreciate it. Ivan, while we've got them, are there any questions for either James or Anita from the group? All right, thank you, sir. Next item, chair report. Very little to report. I'm just going to say thank you. We are almost there for this this phase and the approval of the plan. And I appreciate all the work that everybody that's here, that's online, and that your teams have put in to this effort. I know it's been a heavy lift with not a lot of time when you consider what's been accomplished. But I just am very grateful on behalf, personally, and also on behalf of the River Authority staff as well. Item number 6, statements of compliance. So Kendall, can you please talk us through this item?
Absolutely. So as a requirement with the amended plan
Kendall, I can't hear you.
All right. Thank you. So the planning group, there are a couple of things that we just want to make sure the planning group is aware of and are on the record for the amended submittal. So I'm just going to read off a couple of statements here. The San Antonio Regional Flood Planning Group complied with all the requirements outlined in the Texas Open Meetings Act and Public Information Act. The guidance principles outlined in 31 Texas Administrative Code, chapters 362.3, were taken into consideration in the development of the amended regional flood plan. The amended regional flood plan adequately provides for the preservation of life and property and the development of water supply sources where applicable. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Kendall. Item number 7, which is discussion and appropriate action to adopt the amended San Antonio Regional Flood Plan. So that will be from our technical consultant team. I will say the agenda packet includes the track changes version of the chapters affected by the amendment.
Yes,
So-
sir. So I'll go ahead and set the stage for this one. We do have Abigail in person and Ludovine and Ron online. What you have in front of you for meeting materials and what was sent out in the agenda packet is the track changes version of the amended plan. So this is the changes that were made to the final plan. So you can see them redlined here. You'll see everything from the names of planning group members that have changed to the changes in numbers and total FMXs and lines saying that an amendment was done since the final plan. So the bulk of the amendment, task 12, is what was approved in our last meeting. This here is so you can see in writing the way that the narrative was changed in the flood plan. And if you guys have any questions, or Ludovine and Ron, if there's anything else that you want to cover, we can just open the floor to that.
No, thanks, Kendall. That covers it. It's just the amended plan, and everything before you is all the changes that have been made to this point, and we'll entertain any questions that you may have at this time.
It almost feels anticlimactic. Who? Why did you say that to Kara? I know we've got folks taking a look, so we'll give everybody another minute. But this is the big item. You know, this is bless this, and it's off after that, and we'll send it to Water Development Board. So just want to make sure everybody's comfortable, has a chance to look. And if you find something, it's Ron's fault.
Derek, this is Suzanne. Can I just ask a quick question of Abigail to see if there was anything from our last meeting that we could highlight if things changed or any other projects had further analysis or anything?
Sure. Yeah, of course, Suzanne. Abigail, jump on in, please.
So at the last meeting, we had already voted upon the FMPs that were submitted. And so no changes had really occurred after that because we brought them to you for your approval. There was some ones that were submitted from other communities that didn't really get into big discussion because they weren't part of our task. So you might see some more numbers maybe in the report that don't match up to everything that we discussed here, but all of those new projects will be included in the amended report.
Yeah, Suzanne, one of the biggest things that we received, as noted in the last meeting, was we've got all of the Texas Water Development Board fifth projects for Karnes County. And so that was all included. And so, but those were included in the overall, just the spreadsheet. That wasn't part of what we did in task 12 in the projects that we added. No projects were added by the consulting team or reviewed or removed. The only projects that were added or removed, it was like Abigail said, was what came from other entities. But the biggest change would be all the projects we got from the fifth projects.
Thank you. And are those included in the total number of all the projects? There's a paragraph early in the report that talks about the total estimated cost of the projects. Are those Karnes County projects included in those? In that
Yes,
number?
yes, ma'am. Everything is up to date.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, I know we talked about it last time, and I'm looking at the numbers just now on table 6-2 and 6-3. I know we had some discussions about kind of a performance matrix, talking about what's our kind of elevator speech, if you will. If we implemented all of these projects, what kind of benefits are we seeing? And I'm seeing that in this page 60. Kind of interesting, the numbers. Existing structures, I see here 19,120. Estimated structures removed after implementation, only 1,473, to just basically decrease it by 8%. That I have it on my notes here that's one of the things we had talked about, wanting to put that. That's kind of really interesting information. Just wanted to highlight that, Chair.
Thanks, Neffy. Any other comments or questions?
Just to follow up on Neffy's comment
in.
about the tables here, and I'm assuming that that is the number that's given on page 22 in the executive summary, that's the amount that provides these benefits, correct?
Yes, that's the total. That's the total that was changed. We changed that total. We updated that total based on the task 12 projects and the projects that we received from other communities, whether it be FME or FMP. But all the numbers have been updated to reflect all the projects we've received to date.
And Debbie, this is Ludovine. Excuse me. Those first numbers, what it's comparing to, the existing structures and existing population, those are from task 2 when we did the analysis of all of the population and structures in the floodplain. And so
Okay,
if there's
thank
other
you.
numbers that, yeah, from that table, that's how we compared them. And then, like Ron said, these are the numbers that, due to the FMPs, are benefiting.
All right. Any other comments, questions?
They
Chair,
do seem a little
just-
low, unfortunately. I wish those numbers reflected more benefit. But I mean, I think that can be improved in our next cycle.
Chair, and to follow up with what Suzanne is saying, I mean, it's interesting to me because I think, and having had time in the city, and I think Sabrina might be on the call, but my thought is that there is plans for all of these structures, whether they're counted in this study, because I don't think the city of San Antonio provided all of their projects. And I kind of tend to think that Cedar of Bernie may have not provided every single project, as well as some of the other communities. But it's interesting to me that that percentage, I can't help but think, are we doing enough to get those big projects or to bring those forward? I don't know. I'm kind of curious to what Ron thinks about why our numbers are low. I mean, that's 8%. Wow. Especially the low water crossings. That's the one that I thought we were going to have a much larger number on low water crossings. Ron,
Yeah, Ron
what
or
would you add?
Ludovine
Yeah,
or Abigail.
Abigail.
Yeah, I mean, Neffy, the sheer number of low water crossings is very extreme, and it's considered everything that's touching a floodplain. As you know, many of them are TxDOT floodplains that they don't have to meet the 100-year if they're a TxDOT structure. That's one of the issues that we've brought up in this plan. It's come to light in this plan. Every region has, I think, is expanded on that, and so a lot of that is the TxDOT structures that don't meet the 100-year. And Neffy, as you know, we can't meet the 100-year for all the structures. So again, that's structures that don't meet the 100-year as far as low water crossings. And then the sheer number of structures, there's a lot of things that are counted in that. But yeah, I think there's a lot of one-offs and different things, and we do capture a lot of those. But yeah, there's more work to be done. We reached out and captured all the projects that we could and that we received and that we dug into. So if there's more to be left on the table, I know there's the River Authority is going through their master plans now and identifying more things. So hopefully we'll have more information for the next round. But yeah, the low water crossings, there is a staggering number. There's how we attack those as a community, and what level of service we provide can be different by who owns them. So there's we need to get TxDOT to the table, and take a deeper dive in the next go round for sure, as well as seeing where our hotspots, what we have remaining. So that'll be interesting for the next round too, Neffy. So yeah, all good things, but we did. There was a lot of projects. When you look at the number and the cost of those projects, we put a big, that's a big cost to the number of projects that we're proposing. So we'll
Yeah, and I mean, I think, yeah, I agree with both Neffy and Suzanne. Like, yes, I wish the numbers were more dramatic. I think the TxDOT issue is real and will definitely be, I would hope, part of the next cycle that, as we have more time to dive in and look at that. I also know that, between the consultant team and myself and others, we talk to all of our, I'll say the clients, whether it's City of San Antonio or Bexar County or other smaller municipalities, whoever. And I think we've done our due diligence on pushing them to include what they wanted to include. If they didn't want to include a project, even if we thought they should, we deferred to that agency or entity because they're the local sponsor. So, I would have loved to included every single thing because I think that would, if you can take a shot at state money, why not? But it's not our call. It's not the region's call here. It's that particular entity. But I think it's something we circle back around in the next planning cycle to talk to them again and say, hey, now you've gone through a new budget year, a new bond cycle, are there any circumstances that have changed where you want to include these in the next round and we get them into the next batch of amendments, which we can do. We don't have to wait 5 years. So those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, this is Dave at the county, and I agree with Derek, and I agree with everybody else. We have to understand this isn't an all-inclusive list of flood needs throughout our region. You pick what you think are the most impactful ones that you can handle initially, and hopefully that the Water Development Board selects those projects. But, not to make a pun, but this is a fluid list. I mean, this is going to continue to morph itself, and we'll continue to select new projects moving forward. But I think we've made a good stab at the first effort.
Chair, if I could add, I'll tell you, it's always a struggle because we have this high bar, a high standard, and that standard is the 1% 100-year event. I will tell you that for somebody that has experienced flooding, any relief, any improvement is relief. And I think it's important that we put it in the correct perspective that while we may not be removing so many from the 100-year, I think there needs to be some kind of understanding that there is relief. Maybe you're going from being flooded every 5 years to maybe every 50 years, and in that frequency discussion. But I think it's important that we put that in perspective because, the numbers are really cold and they tell you that they tell a story. But I think that we, as those that are going to be advocating with our communities and those areas that we work with, we have to be able to help people understand the perspective that there is relief and there is benefit if we do these projects. So I appreciate the comments.
And this is Suzanne. I agree with what was being said. And I'm going to be curious when we go through this to see how it stacks up against some of the other regions in, their improvements as well. I mean, I was noticing the critical facilities. I think it says on that that we're only removing 2 of what was it? Hold on, let me get back to that table. Which was one of the tables that just said the critical facilities. I think it says we're removing 2 of a larger number.
4,077.
Yeah, there it is.
Again, that's all the critical facilities in the floodplain throughout the whole region.
Right. No, I understand. And, but, as Neffy was saying, as the general public looks at this and wonders, what is the benefit of what we're doing here? And, there could be some questions about whether or not, the money that's going to be spent on projects is actually having that return on investment, that sort of ROI that we're trying to get from this process. But again, I mean, I think there's a lot of other factors that are coming into this. And these are things that I think will be important as we move into the next phase. I mean, we did what we did based on what we received as far as projects. We weren't necessarily in a situation where we could generate our own projects. We really went through the process of taking what was given to us by other sponsors, and we did some analysis of that. But so, I'm concurring with what Neffy and Dave were saying. We're doing the best we can with what we've got, but this is obviously an opportunity for us to continue to improve as we move forward. And similarly, I would imagine, and I don't remember because I wasn't part of the very, very first water planning process. I was only engaged in it after it had started, but I would suspect that over time, those projects became better at meeting needs, and those gaps were filled, or at least projects were identified to fill the gaps in water planning. And I'm projecting that over time we will get better at filling that gap as well.
Debbie?
Just a couple of comments and a question. And I guess as we talked about TxDOT, and we've all identified at the table that that's an issue. And do we have the ability to actually look at the miles of TxDOT right away that are do not meet the standards? Is that a possibility to capture that for the next cycle? Not this one. Too late.
Abigail's eyes got really big.
Yeah. No, but just kind of keeping that in mind and putting that on the table for maybe looking at that and making a bigger effort to include the data that we need to actually influence TxDOT and legislation.
I guess I'd look to, go ahead, Kara. Well, I was just saying, I looked to the consultant team to see what data they had, but you may know if you want to jump in.
Well, I guess when you say miles that aren't meeting the standard, what standard do you mean?
Well, I think one of the first ones is the low water crossings, but there could be roadways, miles, and that was one of our standards. So those would be the two criteria that
I mean, the problem is TxDOT doesn't, they design to an existing condition and they don't design to a 100-year standard. So
do we know where those issues are? There you
pick a TxDOT roadway and the answer is yes.
go. Okay, good.
I mean, Kara's right on this. This is Dave. I don't know that we need to be focusing a lot of effort on TxDOT facilities because TxDOT won't improve their structures at this point in the game to pass a 100-year storm event, because then they have to mitigate what happens downstream, and it becomes an enormous deal for them. So although we would like everybody to conform to the same standards, I don't think it's reasonable for us to expect that that's ever going to happen.
You know, I think it's going to be interesting coming out of this. I think virtually every region made comments, James, I mean, about the concern with TxDOT. And it's a legitimate concern. I mean, to Dave's point, them going back and fixing, you know, or modifying where we're at today is one thing. I would just wish all new roadways going forward designed to a 100-year existing, much less some ultimate that everyone else and that all of our plans are really focused on. But we're not even there yet. And so a lot of it will be, what is the conversation legislatively as funding comes forward? What is the conversation then to TxDOT? You know, because any project that happens upstream of a TxDOT right away has to have detention, because downstream you have a problem not of your own making. And so it is we can't solve the past, but what can we do for the future that, you know, is really beyond any one regional group, and it's a state agency and a legislative conversation that's got to occur.
Correct. And I don't want to beat a dead horse there, but, you know, I think this flood plan that we're working on right now focuses on issues that people are willing to want to solve right now. So I think we have to put this TxDOT stuff in our rearview mirror for the moment, deal with the stuff that we can be impactful on, and then we can circle back around to that at a later date.
So Derek, so we need a motion to approve this, right?
That is correct.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve this. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff.
Second, Dave.
Dave, do you mind reading the motion that is on the screen?
Oh, man, I don't have my glasses. Oh, I can do that one. Motion to adopt the amended regional flood plan and allow the technical consultants to make any non-substantive, is that right, changes and appropriate edits as discussed today.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of passing the plan, say aye.
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 All right, any nays? All right, congratulations, everyone. You have now adopted the amended flood plan.
But wait, you're not done yet.
But wait, there's more. Item number 8, appropriate action to authorize the Regional Flood Planning Group sponsor to solicit for voting membership vacancies. And the background on this is, in case a member of the group steps down before the start of the second cycle, this would authorize the sponsor, currently the River Authority, to put out a solicitation for any announced vacancy. This is just a way for us to get ahead of the game. If somebody on the group, you know, for whatever reason, steps down off the group over the summer, that we would not be delayed as we prepare for the first meeting in the fall. And we'd be able to fill that vacancy right away at our first meeting, anticipated to be October, correct, at this point. So, Kendall, did I miss anything that we need to hit on?
Debbie, you going to read it?
Oh, this is Debbie Reed. I have a motion to authorize the Regional Flood Planning Group sponsor to solicit for any voting membership vacancies between now and the first meeting of cycle 2.
Second.
I have a question.
Wait, we have a motion and a second, but we have a question. Nephew,
Yes,
please.
I just want to understand, I'm not against it. I think this is great. But I was under the impression that when a vacancy had to be advertised, there was a certain lead time or certain motion that we needed to do in order to do that. How does that work with this motion?
Sure. So this motion would authorize the San Antonio River Authority to go out and put out a solicitation. This is basically doing an authorization. If anyone contacts me in a week or even through August, then in that case, in early September, I would put out the solicitation saying that there's a vacancy in the municipality's interest group. And I would go through that, knowing then when the group will be able to pull together. A solicitation has to be out between 30 and 45 days before it's renewed. Then we'll move from there. Yes, so this just authorizes now so that if anything comes up over the summer, we can handle it at the first meeting of the second cycle. So we can start with a full board.
Goal is to avoid us having extra meetings for no reason other than say, Kendall, please post in 45 days, come back to us.
I would greatly appreciate that.
As do we.
So
thank
Kendall,
you.
this is Suzanne, just another quick question. So you would send out the solicitation to all the members as well. We would be notified of the vacancy. And then you would go through the process and then we would actually vote on any, to fill any of those vacancies that may have occurred at the first meeting in the fall.
Yes,
As a
ma'am,
group.
absolutely. So if a
Okay.
vacancy comes up, I will reach out to the planning group and the non-voting members as well, let them know that there is a vacancy. A solicitation will go out on this day. When it does go out, I'll send that out to voting members, non-voting members, interested parties, and they are posted at with every county clerk in the region. So it goes out wide. We ask you to share it, and then we'll go through the whole process. And at that first meeting of the second cycle, the poll planning group will vote on filling that vacancy if we have that situation arise.
All right, thank you, Nephi and Suzanne. Any more questions before we vote? All right, so we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor of the motion to authorize the sponsor to solicit, or the one on the screen, please say aye. Aye. All right. Thank you, everyone. Motion passes. We will now move on to item number 9, the highly anticipated designation of additional term length for initially appointed planning group voting members. I suggested cage match with a bracket, but
Kendall
I got
vetoed
some looks
cage
for
match.
that. I think cage match would be great.
No.
The voice of reason speaks, but I still thought it was a great idea. So basically, the 8 originally appointed members, which you see on the screen, will select a playing card from Kendall, or if they're not here, a proxy you can have select. If you pull a 2, the cards are either a 2 or a 5. If you pull a 2, you get a 2-year extension. If you pull a 5, you get a 5-year extension. This is about as simple as we can make it, and I think it's pretty simple.
Hey,
I don't
Dave,
know, cage match, we can still do it.
Absolutely not.
Dave, I'll pull for you and whichever of ours is shorter, I'll take and you can have the other.
Not how that works. I was going to subject Anita to this, but it sounds like it's James's problem today, seeing how DWDB appointed everybody. Then James is in charge of pulling for those who aren't here so that everyone can be mad at him instead.
Thanks, James.
All right, for Dave Wegman. Dave, you're stuck here for another 5 years.
This is so exciting.
Summer, I know you're on for Doris, so you'll have to relay this information. I'll have James pick for y'all. Doris is here for another 2 years.
I feel like we should place bets between these. I just don't know.
This is kind of strange having the low card win.
Well, in that case, Debbie, you're up.
Yes, I win. Oh, sorry.
Let it note Debbie drew a 2.
And Nuffy, you're next. Hi. Kara. Kara, pick 5. So that's a 5 for both Nuffy and Kara. For Jeff Carroll. Jeff gets
So
another
excited,
5.
Dave.
All right, John, we're going to go ahead and pick for you. John gets another 2 years, which means that Dave is left with 2 years.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Chair, with that, we have the extensions of our terms.
That may have been the highlight of the day right there. All right. Thank you, everyone. And I appreciate your continued service, whether it's for 2 years or 5 years. And I hope you're satisfied with what you drew. Next item. This is item number 10, discussion and appropriate action to select the Regional Flood Planning Group sponsor for Cycle 2. So this is what Kendall and I reached out to as many members of the group as we could. We got notice after our last meeting that the Water Development Board was requesting that each group take action to designate the sponsor for the second cycle and to authorize the selected sponsor to apply for grant funding and negotiate a contract with the Water Development Board. We did not know this was coming, but we wanted to make sure we got onto this agenda because they've asked for July or August, and our intent is not to meet in July or August.
Fine. Sorry, this is James from the Water Development Board. I will say September is probably fine as well. We're looking at our schedule and it looks like we'll be taking the proposed funding allocation and request for applications to our board in early October. I think October 5th is what we're shooting for.
We'll be taking September off as well.
Yeah, we're taking, the intent was to take September off as well. So that's why there was not any previous discussion because we wanted to get it, we wanted to take action here. But before we even do a motion, I would want to open it up for comments or thoughts. It's a little awkward as I talked to a number of you, like we are the sponsor. So, and I'm the chair and I'm having to put this on the agenda without any warning. So it's a little awkward in full disclosure, but I wanted to open it up and maybe Kara, if you want to lead any discussion about it. So I'll sort of step back.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think that the only question from me was confirming, James, that there is no requirement for us to go back out and solicit.
Correct.
I mean, I recall the applicants the first time around. It's not as if in our watershed, there is a long list of appropriate applicants for this. There was one other, maybe 2 others. There was one other, but I think we all overwhelmingly, felt we had the appropriate sponsor this go around. And so I do open it up for discussion, comments from folks on if we want to do anything different. I personally would not, or why would we change horses at this point? I don't think there is an appropriate alternative. I mean, neither the city or the county is in a position, and I think other agencies aren't really in an overriding role. But Neffy, it looks like you've got ready to comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what you said. I know when we started this, I think there was another organization, but nobody that has the scope or the jurisdiction, if you will, for this area that I feel would be appropriate. And frankly, I don't know that it would be in our best interest to look at a different organization. I can understand maybe in other regions that there may be some concerns on the way things have been run or the way things have been developed. Maybe I don't see that here. I think we're doing well. I think we've done some great work. I think we have some incredible consultants, and I think everybody participates really well. I think the facilities are great, and so I don't see us needing to look for another sponsor.
And I got to be honest, I really like San Antonio River Authority doing this. It's really nice that they do all the work and then I get to show up and vote and leave and get free water. So I think we should keep the San Antonio River Authority. They have the expertise to do this. They have the resources. And they know how to handle these kind of things. So, and plus I really enjoy the free water, and I don't know that the next sponsor is going to give me free water.
There's free Cokes and stuff in the river.
Let me know when the motion comes. No, they do a good job. It just makes sense. And they're set up for this.
I think we all agree that, staff in particular have managed the process and us well. And
The staff support has just been outstanding, and I want to.
Kendall needs a raise. Let me go on the
Yeah,
record.
I just want to thank the River Authority for, I think, making us one of the best regions in the state.
I'd like to strike Neffy's comment as out of order.
It's recorded in a public meeting.
Yeah, I'll turn it over to anybody online if they have any comments.
I'd like to make the motion if I can.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to make the motion to designate the San Antonio River Authority as the Region 12 sponsor for Cycle 2 and authorize them to apply for grant funding and execute a contract with the Texas Water Development Board.
second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, the motion passes. And I will say on behalf of the River Authority, I appreciate the confidence in the group, and we look forward to continuing to do this. I think it is one of our strengths, and it's in our wheelhouse. We do it for Region L, we do it for here, and we appreciate the opportunity. It is a lot of work, but I think it is also very rewarding, and it fits with our mission. So thank y'all.
Well, I know I appreciate all the stuff you do, not just here. The San Antonio River Authority are constant professionals, and we call them back from the military, quiet professionals, and they get the job done and on a variety of things. So I really appreciate the work that you all have done with this. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
And the free water.
And the free water. And likewise, from Bear County standpoint, we have a long-standing
Hey, Dave, can you
relationship.
speak up, please?
Try. I was just saying from the county standpoint, we have a long-standing relationship with the River Authority. We've done great things together in the past, and I look forward to much more in the future.
Thanks, Dave. All right, we're going to move on to item number 11, the regional liaison update. Dave and Doris.
Which Dave, me?
Yeah.
Okay. Region 13 met up in Tilden on Monday. They voted their plan for comments by July 5th, and they voted in their members. So they're doing exactly pretty much what we're doing here.
Thanks, Dave. Did Doris have an update?
Or summer for Doris?
Or summer for Doris?
Yes, just a couple of minor things. They're thinking about reducing their meetings to potentially quarterly instead of the initial monthly, and they're also kind of trying to figure out how they're going to do their officer terms. So kind of similar to what we just voted on earlier. And those are the updates that she had.
Okay, thank you, Summer. Item number 12. So Kendall is going to go over the conceptual cycle schedule, for cycle 2. So Kendall, I will turn it to you, please.
Thank you. So in your packets and on the screen, we are looking at the working conceptual schedule with 2 asterisks released by TWDB in December. I'm going to point out a couple of important dates here. You can see the transition from the first cycle into the second cycle, which is the 2028 Regional Flood Plan. As we talk about our next meeting, instead of scheduling that, I just wanted to review this schedule with you. So you can see item 41 here is when TWDB has the planning group slotted for coming back into holding meetings and getting together again. And so that is Q4 of this year, which would be potentially at earliest October, which does line up with TWDB's goal to get their proposed budget and scope of work for cycle 2 in front of their board in September. So at this time, we are not looking to schedule the October meeting, but to see when that information comes out so that that first meeting of this group would be productive. The next date I want to point out to you is the application timeline. So thank you for selecting the River Authority again to be sponsor for next cycle. We will be applying for that grant fund from TWDB at the end of this year as well. So that's a concurrent timeline with us meeting again. You can see here the solicitation for technical consultants, that wouldn't start until early 2024. So at earliest, we would go out in January once the group has been meeting and when we do have that budget and scope from TWDB. So that's the earliest we would put out for an RFQ. You can see that the actual selection of a technical consultant and getting them under contract, the goal is to have that done in June of 2024. So that's at most a 6-month process we're looking at in early 2024 to get our technical team on board. That will require an RFQ. So we will have to go out with a solicitation for a technical consultant. And again, this is all for the 2028 regional flood plan. It would be due in January of that year. So we are going to be on the 5-year cycle at that time. Are there any questions about the conceptual schedule at this time? This is really all the information I have, but we do have James here.
Just one comment to add, and that was a minute ago I mentioned an October 5th board date, and that is when we're zeroing into the present the funding allocation and the request for applications. So yes, I think the schedule has both months filled in blue there for item 40. And so that was just to provide a little bit of a wider window for us before we settled on an exact date. But yes, we are settling on, it seems, or anticipating October 5th for that board meeting.
So that would just mean that our meeting would be later in October, if not November, to make sure we have that information.
Okay. James, do we have to go back out with a new RFQ for consultant for the next cycle? I heard rumors there were some regions just trying to carry over, but are we required? Does that kind of process? Can you help us with that?
Great question. I will start off by saying what's in our rules. Our rules for regional flood planning require that the regional flood planning group select technical sponsors. It doesn't mention an RFQ per se in that. All it says is select a technical consultants. Later on in the rules, in section 361.72, which is use of funds, there is a section that talks about sub-consulting and that any sub-consultants selected or procured have to follow all state and local procurement laws. So those are not, recognizing that river authorities, cities, counties are all different and may be subject to different government codes or administrative codes. We do not get into specifics in terms of what the river authority or the sponsor's obligation is there in terms of solicitation or procurement. The 2 main points are that the rules require the group to select a sponsor and that all state and local procurement laws be followed. And so we leave it up to the sponsor and the group to determine how that applies to the individual entities.
The River Authority.
So do you want to go back, Neffy, to that unvote the River Authority? Is that what you're saying?
I'm trying to parse it. Sorry.
We're happy to look at it more in preparation for the October meeting, because there's nothing's going to happen until then anyway. My understanding as of right now, we are in between, we have our previous general counsel retired, so we're in the search right now. But I would think we would have to go back out based on our rules, but we're happy to look at that further. And we have literally a couple of months to dive into that more. And who knows, we may get more guidance from Water Development Board in the interim too.
So Derek, I'm assuming the contract that we have with half an HDR does not have a clause in it that, that allows, an automatic renewal of that contract or an optional
Correct.
renewal of that contract? Okay.
That is correct. There are no terms that would allow for there to be an extension to the existing contract, especially given that the scope of work and the budget were not guaranteed to be the same.
This is James again. I will add, Kendall reminded me from our presentation that I myself gave last month that we did state.
She's so subtle.
We did state that RFQs are required for each new cycle. So that is our guidance that we're presenting. But I think the main point is required in rule is that follow all state and local procurement laws.
Kara said she wanted to be on the selection panel.
No, thank you. Aaron and I both participated in that this first round, and
Fair enough.
the takeaway I heard is the River Authority will confirm in the current contract that there's no ability to extend it or no prohibition, and get some arms around your requirements, and that whenever we meet in the fall, we will have clarity for that one way or the other, but we believe that it will require you to go out for a new RFQ.
Yes.
Yes.
TWDB has put in writing that an RFQ is required.
All right. Are there any other questions on or comments on the schedule or this whole or tentative schedule and everything else we just discussed?
Derek, I just have a quick question. This is Suzanne about the date in October.
Yes,
I mean, I
ma'am.
know that, Kendall, you're deciding whether or not it's going to be October or November, depending upon when the action takes place at Water Development Board. Are you going to do sort of a doodle poll or something to find out the dates? I know October starts to get busy for everybody, so I'm just curious as to, do you have a tentative date that you're looking at this time?
I don't have a tentative date in terms of meeting. My hope would be to reach out to the planning group members with any information released by Texas Water Development Board at that time and say, this is what we have, there's a budget, there's a scope, and we're ready to get back together. Here are a couple of dates. Let's figure out what works for us in this fall. So it'll be something along those lines, but I would hope to have material when we meet, so it's something that we can actually discuss.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Suzanne. All right. We're going to move on to item number 13, public comments. Kendall, do we have any public comments?
No, sir, nobody has signed up to speak.
All right. With that, we'll move on to item number 14. Could I get a motion to adjourn
Debbie Reed, motion to adjourn.
and a second?
Dave Malk, a second.
All right. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, y'all.